All right, that was all the previous stuff. Let's talk about quadrilaterals. Okay, now quadrilaterals, I'm going to explain to you guys a little bit about the etymology of the word quadrilaterals. Okay, quad, okay, comes from a Latin root, okay, where Q-U-A, means something to do with four. Okay, so other words that you may know like this are quarter, okay, and quarters mean something to do with four, right? There's four quarters in $1, okay? And you can think of this kind of like in Arabic when we have arba and we have rubi, right? And don't make fun of my Arabic, but you have the same root. So qua, in a lot of English words, if it starts with QU, QUA, QUI, it has something to do with um, fours, okay? Just keep that in mind. Okay, when you see a word that has QUA in it, usually in the beginning, it has something to do with four. Okay, so a quadrilateral is a shape that is made up of four line segments. Okay, so we take four lines and we whip them together, and that forms a shape. Okay, and it doesn't have to be a perfectly straight shape as long as it only has four sides. Okay, so now that you know this, I want you guys to tell me which one of these shapes is a quadrilateral. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. All right. A is definitely a quadrilateral. Boys and girls, I believe that is a square, although it does look a little bit like a rectangle, but I think it's a square. It's still a quadrilateral, anyways. B is absolutely not a quadrilateral. Okay, there are six sides there. Anybody thinks it's a quadrilateral needs to go to the doctor and get his eyes checked. C is definitely a quadrilateral. It does look like a square that's turned on its corner. That is called a rhombus. Okay. D is a triangle, which three, TRI. It's close to three. So triangles are not going to be quadrilaterals. Okay. Number five is a pentagon, and pent uh, means five. So pentagons are not quadrilaterals. Now this F over here, this wonky looking shape, looks like it's falling over. It still has four sides. So we're not going to be mean to him. I mean, he's still got four sides. So he's a quadrilateral. Okay. G is also kind of a funky looking shape. But again, he's part of the four line club. So we're going to let him in. Okay. He's a quadrilateral. And H, okay, perfectly straight, so that's a rectangle, and that's like the epitome of a quadrilateral. Okay, so that is a quadrilateral. So let's repeat: A is a quadrilateral, C is a quadrilateral, F is one, G is one, and H is one. All right, now we're going to talk about something called congruency. Okay, congruency are when a quadrilateral has two sides that are the same length. Okay, they're equal length. So a rectangle has two sets of congruent lines. Okay, so the rectangle we have here, for example, has a 4 and a 4, which means those are congruent, and we have an 8 and an 8, which means those two are also congruent. So it has two sets of congruent sides. This funky looking shape over here is called a trapezoid. Okay, a trapezoid, and I want you guys to take a look at it right now and let me know if it has any congruent sides. And you guys can see that it has a 3 here and a 3 here, and those two are congruent sides. They're not parallel, but they're congruent. And then the top side is 4 centimeters, and it's parallel with the bottom side, which is 6 centimeters, but because those are two different heights, lengths, they are not congruent. All right, so the congruent sides of these quadrilaterals here, a square has all bunch of congruent sides. They're all the same length. Okay, so we'll say congruent, 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 congruent. This parallelogram has 3 and 3, right, which is two, one set of congruent sides, and 6 and 6, which is another set of congruent sides. A rectangle is like the example that I would set for everybody on how to be congruent, okay? He's got 1 and 1, 4 and 4. I mean, you can't get more congruent than that, okay? This funky looking shape over here is a quadrilateral, an irregular quadrilateral, but I mean, you got to give it to him. You got to give it to him. 4 and 4, that's congruent. Okay, here our trapezoid, again, these two sides, sides AD and BC, those are going to be congruent. AD and BC are congruent. AB and DC are not congruent. All right, quadrilaterals. These are some vocabulary. All right, write these down. Get the definitions. If you are not sure, you can send an email asking to explain these. However, I'm pretty sure you'll find these on Google, but I'll explain them to you quickly. A quadrilateral is any shape that has 4 sides, okay, normal or funky looking. 4 sides equals quadrilateral. Congruent means 2 things, 2 sides that are equal to each other, okay, in length. Parallelogram. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral that has 2 sets of parallel lines, but no perpendicular lines. And I know that sounds kind of weird. We're going to have a slide about parallelograms, and I'll explain them a little bit more. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral that has one set of parallel lines and no perpendicular lines, okay? And a rhombus is a 4-sided shape, a quadrilateral with all equal sides. It does not have to be a square, but a lot of times it will be a square, and it will be a square that's turned on its vertice or vertex. All right, video time. So these videos, I'm going to link them in the description below, and I would like you to check those out. Okay, so these are the different types of quadrilaterals, okay? This one has the best name in the world. Parallelogram, okay? Everybody say that with me. Parallelogram, okay? Parallelogram. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral that has 4 sides. They're congruent, okay? But they are not perpendicular, okay? So a parallelogram has 4 sides. They are parallel. They are not perpendicular, okay? And I'm going to stop talking with this accent because I'm starting to sound like my Uncle Tito. I don't want to do that. Okay. Rectangles. A rectangle is like the perfect quadrilateral, okay? A rectangle has two sets of congruent sides, right? Sorry, I just gave away the answer. And 2 sets of parallel lines, okay? And also they have perpendicular lines. All the sides are form perpendicular pairs, okay? A square has 4 equal sides, okay? So we're going to call all of those congruent because they're all the same. And the sides they have opposite sides which are parallel to each other, and then they also have adjacent sides which are perpendicular. So the corners make perpendicular lines, and side to side they make parallel sides. A rhombus, okay? A rhombus, and oftentimes you'll find squares being classified as rhombuses, okay, or rhombi. They're going to fall in that category. A rhombus is a quadrilateral where all the sides are equal, okay, so like a square, but sometimes they're not perfectly parallel to each other, or they're not perfectly perpendicular. So as you can see, like the first rhombus here at the bottom, they're all the same size, but they don't look like a square, right? It looks kind of like a square's got stretched out. And then the second one is a perfect square. And then this third one is also like a square got stretched or squashed. And also with the last one, it looks like somebody's just kind of stepped on a square, bent it the wrong way, but he didn't ruin it the whole time, the whole way, okay? All right, and a trapezoid. A trapezoid also has a pretty cool name. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral that has 2 opposite sides, so it's like 2 sides are parallel, and then none of the sides are actually perpendicular to each other. They are intersecting lines. There's intersecting lines, but they're not perpendicular. Okay, so that's why it looks kind of funky. And the way I was told that it got its name was it kind of looks like a trap. Like if you put a bear trap on the ground and you were staring at it from the side, right? This is kind of what it would look like, right? Like, if you put a rectangle down and you step a couple steps away and you look at it, it'll kind of look like a trapezoid, okay? So it is a quadrilateral, but it is not kind of perfect in shape, okay? All right, gentlemen and ladies, you now have your assignment, which is pages 215 and 216, question number 1 and question number 2. Okay, get to it, chop chop.